That'll bring us to the Big 12, the Big 12
Oh boy.
conference, our favorite conference, new addition. So let's start off with Arizona. That's who we know best and well. I think this team is better than last year. I think the defense is going to be a lot better. We have Jaden Bradley as our new point guard, defensive absolute guru. What are
Mhm.
you guys' thoughts on the Arizona Wildcats this year?
I think that with people are still sleeping a bit on Carter Bryant with how good he actually is going to be. There are early reports right now out of practice that he is completely locked in. And they originally thought when they brought him in, okay, Carter's going to be a 2 year player. That's all kind of out the window now. It's looking more and more like he's a one and done. So with his, when he got that Arizona offer, he was in tears. It's always been a dream school, and he just seems completely locked in on getting this team to where we all want them to go. And then with KJ Lewis's development over the offseason and Jaden Bradley, if we finally get that storyline of Boswell and the Bradley friction off, like that Boswell distractions all gone, no more off the court distractions. I think that I do. If you had to ask me, does Arizona win the Big 12? I don't think so. I think they will finish top 4 or 5 in the conference, but this team is so much better built for March this year.
Well, I don't feel the same way, and I'll tell you why. I think,
What?
yeah,
You?
no,
What?
I know. And listen, I'm gonna be the guy right now that, as the Arizona fan, I want to be dead wrong on everything, right? But I think that personally, last year's team, that's the biggest thing for me in the tournament, right? Is that you want to have teams that have like that kind of veteran, that leadership experience, and now that roster from last year had a lot of people that have already been tournament bound. Maybe didn't see deep tournament, but they had at least seen it, right? And I think that now, like, we're going into a year where, sure, Caleb Love's got another year under his belt, and there's a couple of different friction pieces. I mean, frankly, I loved Kylan Boswell, and I'll be watching him at Illinois for sure. But for KJ Bradley, like, like, there's going to be guys that show up, and like, hopefully, he's the MVP of the season, and he proves me wrong. But I think that the Big 12 is arguably going to be one of the most competitive college basketball
Yeah.
conferences that we've seen.
It's the best. It's
No,
the
no, no, no,
best.
hold on. Let me finish this thought. It's going to be the most competitive conference that we've seen in the last 10 years, is what I'm thinking.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
because we could be great and we have great recruits and we've got everything going for us. But again, we're talking about now playing against Kansas, playing against Houston, playing against Iowa State. Like, these are teams that, again, you got to come to the well every day and get water. And this Arizona team scares me sometimes when it comes to doing that. So I hope we make the tournament. I hope we do great. You know what I mean? But I am going in probably the most pessimistic I have, just because of the competitive nature of what's going on.
I mean, the
What?
days of playing Thursday night in Corvallis, Oregon, with maybe 3,000 fans in the stands are over,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. And it's going to be an adjustment for Tommy, and the team. I think like Trey Townsend's going to be huge. We all saw
100%.
what he did in the tournament last year, and I mean, just looking at the team, I just think there's more dogs on here. That's just my opinion. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't think we win the conference, but I think should be a lock sweet for the Sweet 16 Elite Eight.
It's what we think. And this is big. This is a big
And
change for you, Matt. This we're the no more like 28 wins a season, probably.
nope, nope. Guys, I think we'll have 8 or 9 losses, and that's perfectly fine.
Absolutely. But I think guys gonna show a little bit more of the Mount Crevis, Montahius Crevis,
Hmm.
getting the keys to that front court. Uh, I think he'll be huge to help us in battling those big athletic centers in the Big 12. And then I would like to point out another school for the Big 12, Baylor. Baylor is going to be absolutely insane. Uh, in response to the changes for Baylor, they brought experienced Jeremy Roach
Hmm.
from Duke, starting point guard. He'll probably get the keys of that. No chart, excuse me,
No.
no Chad Omorie for Miami. Uh, brings the rebounding that Baylor always has each year and each out. And then Jalen Chris Caliston. I can't pronounce these names. Jalen Celestine, experienced wing player from Cal. Any ideas on what we think of Cal or Baylor this year?
I mean, Jeremy Roach is gross. And I think that he's the main guy that, again, to your point, when you're watching in the tournament last year and you were watching that Duke team get a little bit congested sometimes on offense, it's because Roach wanted to take the ball and take over. And I think that, again, you're putting him in an offense where with Baylor, they're not necessarily known for their offensive game ever when it comes to a program. They are definitely more of your rebound and defensive
Well,
piece.
there was
So,
that one year where they were shooting like lights out from
well,
three, but
right. That's what I'm saying though. Is that's not their standard model. Like sometimes the kids get hot,
Mhm.
sometimes you recruit a good streak of kids, but realistically, their brand of basketball is built off of defense and honestly not
Yep.
being the fastest team in the country. So I think that for a guy like Roach, where he's really able to swallow up whatever two guard that he's playing against, most likely, I imagine that in this offense, he's probably just going to be the true one versus being a two. So it'll be interesting to see what he does specifically. But Baylor, again, Baylor's probably not going to be the team that even wins this conference, bro. You know what I mean?
I
we're
don't
talking
know, Jake. I don't know
the
about that.
and that's just me. I'm sitting on my little, I like Kansas Mountain here,
They
but
they lost some talent. Jacoby Walter and Ray J. Dennis, their starting backcourt, both gone. So they lose those two guards who were averaging over 14 points a game, both significant losses. But they bring Roach, and they also bring two recruits. VJ Edgecombe, 5-star recruit, best at his position, small forward, and they also bring in Rob Wright, best point guard out of the whole class for 2024. So
Mhm.
another reload for this team.
for sure. And I don't want you to think that I'm not on Baylor by any means. I mean, I think
No,
that, again,
no.
looking at where we're at right now, they could easily be a team where if they put together a 28 win season and they have, some sort of dogfight in some of these games and chunk out to be the top record, I would not be shocked, right? Like they have the pedigree to be able to do that. Frankly, I think that the team that's going to be on my watch list that I'm going to have in a little dark corner that I don't know why they're getting as much love as they are right now. I think it was because of the tournament run last year. Iowa State, dude.
Yes. Yes.
Iowa
Loaded
State is going to
defense.
be a weird team, and I love watching weird teams, man. Biggest, at least, kind of transfer that I saw for them was Deshaun Jackson from Charlotte, 6'11", averaged 11 points and 6 rebounds. Which again, from a Charlotte perspective, that's not necessarily the school that you're like planting your flag in the ground and saying, "Oh my God, that's where we got to recruit from," right? But kid balls out, defensive stud, and I think that for Iowa State, a lot of what they are really built off of is obviously that 3-point shooting, but then also really being able to play defense. So
Mhm.
they've also got Tamlin Lipsey, who's their heartbeat of their team, leading scorer, key distributor. Iowa State, put him on my dark horse for the Big
Mhm.
12, man. I think there's a lot of teams to talk about here, but Iowa State, man, could be it.
Fun fact about Iowa State, they had the number one defense in KenPom last year, which,
That's why I'm
you
saying
know,
it.
just I mean, like the Iowa State that I know, just up and down, score a bunch of points, but then you add in this defense, and yeah, they could win the conference.
And I'll tell you,
Guys,
I mean,
there's 5 teams, 6 teams that could win the conference.
easily. And
Mm,
last year's regular season champion was Houston, and then the tournament ended up being Iowa State. So again, we're talking about another conference that's competitive from even regular season to their own tournament, let alone getting into the brackets, right? So it's big stuff.
Now, Matt, I got a bone to pick with you because I'm
Oh, here we
upset you
go.
haven't mentioned. I'm really worried about the other school about 60 miles north of Arizona and Arizona State. Are they going to be legit?
Uh, no. Yes, you get Joe Sanseinon. I get
And
that,
Jaden
but
Quintan, dude, 5-star recruit. I'm surprised you're not freaking out over that.
Drew, I'm not freaking out because look who's still coaching. Bobby Hurley. Guys,
True. True.
nothing's gonna change. We've seen this before with sorry, who was the younger brother that ASU brought in of that 4 5 the power forward. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. His brother went to Duke.
I kind of remember.
Do you know who?
It wasn't who was
I
that
haven't had
short
coffee,
point
man.
guard?
Well, all right, Remy Martin, yes, but sorry, this is going to drive me insane now. But just Drew, I think as long as you have Bobby Hurley, they might start the season off like they sometimes do, November, December. Oh my God, ASU, they might show up in the top 25, and then for whatever reason, and it happens like clockwork, once the calendar hits January, they start to crumble.
Well, I unfortunately have them as my dark horse in the Big 12. I'm not happy about it. I hope
Yeah,
I'm
don't be.
wrong. That's I'm just a little worried about them. That's all I gotta mention on that disgusting school up north in Arizona. And then let's go to the big top dog that probably the favorite absolutely of this conference, Kansas. Uh, who would assume? I can't believe Hunter Dickinson still has eligibility. Can't believe this guy's still playing. Can you
It's
guys?
the best. It's the best. I love it.
He is the Cam Rising of college basketball.
It's
Yeah,
getting there.
it's a good comparison, Matt. I like that.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Kansas played Arkansas in an exhibition.
Oh,
And Arkansas won, and I hope that we
whooped
all
him.
saw that because it was sick. Obviously, Kansas had a few key players that weren't playing in that game, right? But Kansas is opening six in KenPom, and I mean, I don't think anybody's surprised by that. Like, they're going to be a perennial top 10 in that category for a long ass time, and they have been because of that defensive and offensive efficiency. Um, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm high on Kansas. I think that they're the top odds for the Big 12 right now at plus 220. Houston's at plus 230. Iowa State plus 470. Baylor plus 800. Arizona plus 850. But Kansas could be the team that wins the whole damn thing this year. I think that they've got, again, that roster continuation. They've got that, the sauce to it. And again, Big 12 is going to be a weird ass conference, but Kansas has kind of had that pedigree of being able to chunk through worse competition before. And I think this is going to be their biggest competition throughout the year. So Kansas is my pick to win the Big 12.
I
One of
think that.
my
Oh, go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Matt. Go
Drew.
ahead.
Okay. So I think this team by no means is going to win the conference, but I just think it's a team that we should at least be keeping on the radar. Cincinnati. So preseason, they're number 20. They have added star Texas transfer Dylan Mitchell. They also addressed some of their shooting weaknesses with other transfers like Connor Hickman. He averaged 15 um points per game and 40% from 3-point shooting last year at Bradley. So we all know Cincy, they're known for their defense. They had the third best defense in the conference last year, but they seem to have addressed the offensive woes in the portal. So just I would just keep an eye on Cincy. I think they do make the tournament. I don't think they finish top 5 in the conference, but I think any team traveling going to Cincy for an away game, I mean, that's going to be extremely tough.
That could be the longest spurt in Bros in the Bleachers podcast history where Matt didn't mention Ohio. So look, we finally got our off. Let's go. I love it.
Yeah, we're missing our other Ohioan fan, Josh, on the show this week. But
Mhm.
no, Cincinnati's always a team that's always so defensively good, and then they get to
They
the
are.
first round of the tournament, and then they get booted out just
Yep.
like clockwork.
Yep.
Um,
I mean, they're like, they're like Baylor, except they just can't make any shots. And that's why I said, all right, hopefully they're addressing that, but defense can only get you so far, I think.
And then I just wanted to touch on another defensive team that'll probably be a disgusting matchup come February, January is Houston. Maybe when they go play against Cincinnati. Houston reloading again. They return LJ Cryer, like Jake mentioned earlier. They returned Jawan Roberts forward, defensive hoss, tough physical rebounder, led the team last year in rebounds. They also get Emmanuel Sharp back for who averaged 12 points a game last year. And then they also lose, I think, their best player from that team, Jamal Sheed, who averaged 13 points a game and had two
Hmm.
steals a game. Pretty remarkable. But they just don't have the size again. They don't have a player taller than 6'8".
But see,
So
that's Houston though, man. Like again,
yeah.
for some reason, I don't know what the formula ends up being, but there are some programs that can literally exist without having a guy that's 6'9", 6'10" plus on their roster. And
Hey,
it's because they just swallow defenses. To your point on Sheed, I mean, again, with 2 steals last year per season, Crier, his biggest role that he had last year was really in that scoring position. Houston is known for having that defensive dog ability, and I frankly I haven't run the tape on Crier's defensive ability, but he'll basically need to take over Sheed's entire role and then some to be able to get Houston across the line because it's gonna be a dogfight.
Drew, our boy Jason Shear is not high on LJ Cryer at all. He thinks that the drop off is too significant from Jamal Sheed for Houston to overcome.
Okay. Expert Jason Shear. Would love to have him to be a friend of the podcast if that's ever possible. If he would leave Mike Luke's side. But yeah, Houston just it's just disgusting.
Can you
Uh,
imagine having Mike Luke on the show?
no, I couldn't. That would be great though, Jake, if you're not free with
Yeah, Jake, do you
the
watch
great Mike
the
Luke.
I don't, unfortunately.
You should consider yourself lucky, but also you're missing out at the same time. But
All right.
any other teams you guys want to mention about the Big 12?
Last one I want to highlight, and it's because one of these random schools that I'm just huge on is Drake. Their head coach, Darian DeVries, left and is now the head coach for West Virginia. I'm going to let you know now. I'm going to say this, and I don't want anybody to hold any weight in it. West Virginia could be nasty. They are really bad, and they don't really have a lot of returning talent, but they could be nasty. And I think it's because
Well,
he brings a
Tucker, right?
I well, right, yeah, they've got a few guys that are with them, but frankly, I think that with West Virginia, they've got a culture of like that defensive basketball. Bob Huggins, that spirit's still in there. So again, just throw it out there. It's not a real take; it's a half take. West Virginia could be back.
I love watching Tucker DeVry at Drake last year. That's his name, right? It was just so painful having to watch him play Washington State last year in that tournament. I was so
Mhm.
high on Drake and they crumbled, and so did my
Yeah.
love for that team.